Okay, vernier caliper, it measures three things. Number one, these big things right here, they're measuring the outside diameter, just like I'm measuring this paper towel roll, so outside diameter. The small little hooks on top, okay, they're for measuring the inside diameter. So they go to the inside of the roll of paper towel. So inside diameter, outside diameter. The last one is depth. We use the metal bar to measure the depth. So example, if we had a hole, well, even good example like that. If we want to measure the depth of the eraser, okay, you put the metal bar down, okay, and measures the depth of the eraser. Now it's better if it's just a hole, right? Because typically I'd probably use the outside diameter for this one. But, so that coffee cup, perfect one. Okay, again, this coffee cup should be straight down, and it measures the hole. So that is the depth of the coffee cup now. Anytime you measure with your caliper, you have two measurements. One is going to be the main scale, which does not slide. So it's this one right here. That's the main scale. Then you have your vernier scale that slides. Now when you measure, you need to always measure from 0. Repeat after me. Measure from 0.
Measure from 0.
The only reason why I say that is because right here isn't 0. 0 is actually over just a little bit. It's like halfway. Okay, so you got to be careful. That's a little tricky thing. Don't measure from here. Measure from
0.
Good. So let's have a look at our notes then, and I'll just point this out. Please underline what I underlined, so it's important stuff. This diagram explains everything I just talked about. So here we have an external measurement. Okay, so an external measurement, that's going to be measuring the outside diameter. Then we have the small teeth, or measuring the internal diameter. Internal, external, and then depth. Okay, and the depth is going to be the little metal bar at the bottom. Okay, so we have the main bar scale. So this would be your main bar. Oops, let me right here. I'm going to use red so you can see it easier. Main bar. It doesn't slide. And here you have your vernier bar, which does slide. Okay, so one is stationary and one is movable. So what they did is they took a little snapshot of this, okay? They took a little snapshot, and this is what you're going to see enlarged, okay, is this picture here. So from the main bar, we're measuring in what units? Millimeters. It's going to tell you. It's going to say, okay? So the main bar is in millimeters. So how many millimeters do we have? So this is the 0 line that you're going to read from. It's crossed right there, okay? So it's crossed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be 5 millimeters. It's crossed 10, and it's crossed 11, and it's crossed 12. Has it crossed 13? No. So the main bar scale tells us it's 12 millimeters. It tells us a whole number, okay? Good. Now what we have to do is figure out the decimal value. So what's the decimal point? I want to make sure it's clear. This is a 0. Okay. So what we look for is the one that exactly coincides or lines up exactly. Or sometimes it's the one that lines up the best. Now keep in mind here, this is going to be, this number here is going to be 0.05, 0.10. This one here would be 0.15. Okay, so there's lines in between the 1 and the 2. That's the 0.05 line. You guys follow that? Okay, so there's some extra ones there. You're not always going to see that. We're switching this up on you because you have to look at what's given to you and read the calipers. So you're going to see different calipers. So which one lines up exactly with all these? Now check them all. Don't just check one and stop. Out of all of them, it's the 3 line. Okay. Does this line match up as well? I'd say so. So the decimal value will be 0.35. Why are we not writing here? There we go, 0.35. So then we add them up, and our total is going to be 12.35. Okay. The adding part's the easy one. Seeing which one matches up is the hard one. Any questions? Okay. So that is metric, millimeters, centimeters. Okay, just scratch that out. We just did that up above, okay? We just did that up above. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing now. So this number here tells us what the scale is. It tells us that our scale is out of 64. So our vernier scale, all these fractions on the vernier scale will be out of 64. Okay. Okay. The eighth tells us that the fractions on the main bar will be out of 8. Okay, out of 8. So that means between 0 and 1, how many increments are there? 8, right? 1, 2, 3, so it's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? So it's out of 8. We're measuring 8s. Now you got to look at the size of the lines. For example, right here, we have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. 4/8 is 1/2, and so they used a slightly taller line. Okay? The 1 must be here covered up. So what would this line here be? 1.5. So we've passed 1.5. That's where the 0 is passed. So our main bar reading, the main bar reading is 1.5. Okay, this would be 4/8, which is 1/2. Now what about the vernier? Which one lines up perfectly? This one right here. How many 64ths is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it'll be 7 64ths. You're just counting lines again. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now what we have to do is add those fractions together. We have 1.5 plus 7/64. So what we have to do is convert 1 over what? 64 plus 7 64ths. So what would we multiply the 2 by? By 32. So the top as well. So this would be 32/64. So altogether then, we have 1 whole inch and 39/64. Okay, so you have to have your fraction skills of common denominators. 1 and 39/64. Use your calculator to help get the denominator, but don't use your calculator's fraction button. Now you want to be able to do this stuff and understand these concepts without your calculator. It's going to help you later, big time. Okay? What's to multiply by 32? Go for it. Like to figure that stuff out? Okay. Questions? I got one. My question is, Mr. Barker, you said we're going to look at different calipers. How do I know what we're going to see on a test and quiz? Good question, Mr. Barker. The answer, Mr. Barker, kind of talking to myself here, is anything you've seen on a worksheet and stuff is what we'd choose for a test and quiz. Now, you guys should practice this. So go to Google, right? Type in there. Sorry, I want to highlight it first. Come on, thing. What's going on here? It doesn't. Not too many things do. Okay, type in this word, vernier calipers. Press enter. And so it's going to do a Google search in case you didn't know. Okay. And go past the advertising. Web results. Okay, so web results here. And we're going to look for the Ron Blond one. Now there's a few different types that you can see. You see this one says Ron Blond. That's where I get the test questions from. So it's a Java. Too bad for you Mac users. Haha. Here you go. This is the little thing. So all I've done for the metric, I just have taken this and expanded it. It shows you what the measurements are. So all I did is I took my little thingamajigger there, took a copy of it, okay, covered up the answers and put it on the test. That's all I did. So you can practice this all you want. I encourage you to do that. Okay. Now looking at this applet, there's imperial 10 to 10, 10 to 100. Don't use that one because that's giving you decimals, and that's not a good habit to get into because we don't use decimals with imperial. What you want to do is the 8 to 64. That gives you your fractions. Okay, so you can practice measuring them. See, how do they get 2 3/8? Oh, there's 2 inches. 1, 2, 3. It just past the third line, so it's 2 3/8. Here, the 4 lines up, so it's 4 over 64. And now they've shown their work of adding your fractions. They even show you the common denominator stuff, right? They show everything. Okay, so good practice right there. Any questions? Vernier caliper, Ron Blonde, you're good to go. Okay. So let's find this worksheet right here. Okay. What I want you to do is the first 2 questions. Okay, worksheet, vernier calipers. Right? Do the very first 2 questions. Go for it. All right, give you a shot. See how. The main bar reading will be 2 1/8. Okay, 2 for volunteering. Good. 2 13 over 64. Okay, so the main bar reading is 2 1/8, and then from the vernier bar reading, it should be 5. The 5 line matches. So 5 over 64. Multiplying by 8 to get a common denominator, and then add them up. So 2 whole inches and 13/64. Hands up if you got that. Okay, good. Okay, so do the next one. The next one's going to be a little bit different. Okay, it's going to be metric, and it's going to be in centimeters. Okay, so you might get, just be careful with that. This one, so I'm going to go over it with you. First of all, you got to figure if this is 1 whole centimeter, it's divided into 10 equal parts. So it's going to be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, up to 1. Now, what is this line that's a little bit longer? Well, over here, it's 0.5. Over here on the other side of the 2, it's 2.5. So between the 1 and 2, this line must be 1.5. So look at the size of the lines and be a detective. Okay. So then this would be 1.6, and this 0 line passes 1.7. So my main bar is 1.7. Now we got to figure out the next decimal place by looking at my vernier bar. The 2 line matches up, so it's going to be 0.02. Now if you thought it's 1.7 and 0.2, if you added that, you get 1.9. 1.9 means that we should be right there. Well, the 0 line is not right here. The 0 line is over there. So you got to realize that that was wrong, and then realize, oh, I should just make another decimal place. Okay. Now you guys haven't done this before, so it's just new to you. Okay, so understand if you're looking at it and say, I don't quite get it. But we're going to be practicing that today. Any questions? Yeah, Morella.
What if instead of writing it as 1.7 centimeters, we wrote this 17 millimeters?
Yes, you could have done that too. You'd be 172 millimeters, right? So you would go 17 millimeters. Get out of here. 17 millimeters plus 2 millimeters. Sorry, 0.2 millimeters. No. That should be 0.2. So 0.2 millimeters. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that'll be fine. I don't mind that. Any other questions? Okay. So, put your pencils down. Over here, now you have 0.1 millimeters. So this is going to be like 6.1. Okay. So it's another vernier scale to look at. Here it's going to be back to centimeters. Here's another one, 0.05. That's like the one that we just at the very beginning, the very first, very first one we looked at. And then there's another one similar, so you get lots of practice on this worksheet. Then you have some rulers that you have to measure, and then some more veneer calipers. Okay, so that's for homework. You're welcome to try some of that during class time as well. Now, just to note, during class, your veneer scale is going to be out of 128ths, and it's going to be really weird to read. Okay, it's going to be, you got to choose the best match of the line. So it might be 2 and 128ths or 3 and 128ths. You just got to choose the best match. Okay, these aren't the best veneer calipers we're working with. All right. For the decimals, again, it's 0.05s. So it's going to look like this one right here. Okay, the one that we did the very. Now always look. It tells you units on there, so it helps you out. If not, ask and I'll help you out on that. Okay. Notice here for these ones, okay, 64 tells you that the veneer scale is out of 64, and the 8 tells you that's out of 8. And you can also notice that there's 8 increments between 0 and 1 inch. Okay, so that should be measured out of 8. Always count, count, count. Any questions? So, here's your measurement lab. It's several pages long, and right now I want you to find this last page and write the word stop there. Go. Make sure it's the right last page, okay? Chris, write the word stop there, please. You need to complete the lab up to this point. Do these conversions here. This will practice for your quiz. I'll post those answers online. Here you go again. Some more conversions. These are metric to metric, whereas the last ones are imperial to imperial. Okay, tomorrow we start crossing over with our conversions. Sorry, Monday rather. We start crossing over. For now, we've done metric imperial to imperial, and we've also reviewed metric to metric. So that'll be quizzed on Monday. Good. So how to do this lab? Let's do 2 examples. Number 1, you want to find the height of your desk. So my reference is hip to my foot. Okay, the length of the object, let's just say it's 1 and 1. Okay, so it's basically from my hip to my foot. And so that's going to be 1 meter or 1 yard, because that's the length of hip to the foot. Then you'll grab a measuring tape and you'll measure it. Maybe this is 1.15 meters, and maybe this is 1 yard and 6 inches. Okay, that's not a good example. Let's look at this next one. You get to choose some. Thickness of your textbook, use calipers as much as possible. So I'm going to choose the height of the overhead arm. So my reference will be my hands. Now my hands, I'm going to use it like this. So I'm going to look at this and say, okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 hands. You guys just see what I did? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.5 hands. Real quick estimation. Now really, it'd be better if I looked at it, but whatever, regardless. So 4.5 hands, okay, which is about 10 centimeters each. So then my estimation would be 4.5 times 10, 45 centimeters. For imperial, it'll be 4.5. Each hand's about 4 inches. So I multiply and get about 18 inches as my estimation. You want to get approximate distances of lengths here. Right? You want to be able to look at something and say, oh, press the eraser. This eraser, it's about 3/4 to an inch thick, and it's about, I don't know, 7 inches long, right? So you want to look at something and get an idea. Looking at the garbage can, it's about 1.5 feet in diameter, and it's about 3 feet high, okay? So you want to be able to do that. That's the whole goal of this lab. Then, of course, you'll go and take a measuring tape and measure it. All right, now the measuring tapes, they're delicate. Okay. So you pull them out, and some of them will lock, some won't. Okay, but be careful with the spring. If they do lock, just press the right button and they go back. If you screw the spring, then you have to screw it up measuring tape. Okay, so just be gentle with that. Okay. Any questions? Make sure you measure an imperial and also a metric, so do them both. Do this in groups of 2, 3, or 4. And get going. Oh, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, get going, go.